So today we're going to be getting into an area that I'm sure a lot of you have been anxious to get into, and we're going to actually start into the pen testing side, the ethical hacking. So I did quite a bit of thinking about this. I was concerned as to where should I start. There's so many areas you can work in. And to be perfectly honest, the very first part of any type of hacking experience actually starts with social engineering and information gathering and research. But I know a lot of you are just dying to get into the meat and potatoes of the computer portion of hacking and all that. So what I'm going to be doing is I'll be sprinkling in the social engineering tutorials along with this. So what I decided to start with today is, before you do any type of hacking, everybody wants to get into the Wi-Fi. How do I hack Wi-Fi? How do I do that? How do I do what they do on the TV and blah, 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 blah. Well, first of all, hacking's not like on television or in the movies. There's no furious typing for 3 minutes and, okay, I'm in. It just doesn't happen that way. So the first thing that you need to have for any type of experienced hackers, you need to have a good list of password files. You need to have your word lists. Okay? This is what you do your brute forcing with. So it's important that you have a nice collection of those. We're using the regular system today. We're able to go to a regular system instead of using a virtual machine now. So we're going to dig in here a bit. And I'm going to take you to the area of, if I can find where they are. Here we go. The word list. And actually, I put a shortcut on my desktop for this and I forgot about it. So that's on me. But let's take a look at some of these word lists. Now, this is not quite as extensive as I have on my portable box that I carry around, but because that one's set up for work, so I have to have it with all my goodies and tools. But I do have a nice selection here for you to look at. This is probably the most well-known and most popular one, the rock U-text. And this normally comes standard on your Kali system, and oh goodness, doesn't want to read it. There we go. You know what? We'll use Nano. I need the terminal open anyhow. So we're going to open our terminal, and we're going to use our terminal text agent, Nano. So let's first cd into our word list directory. And by now you should have been going over your commands in terminal, so you're familiar with this, and I don't have to keep telling you cd means change directory and all that sort of thing. So you should be looking at that. We will eventually, whenever I cover some new commands, and I'll explain them as we go, okay? So we see our rock U-text in there. Yeah, let me, whoops. There we go. So we see our rock U-text in there. And let's go ahead and I'm going to sudo it to open it, because I'm not sure what permissions I have set on it. So we're going to open this up. And we have, there we go, and we have our list. And as you can see, this is just it's a nice little set of passwords. Okay, all kinds of common passwords. It's a very well compiled list. And the reason you need this is, let me explain to you how this works. When you are cracking the password on a hash file, you're not actually decrypting the hash per se. Okay, in a roundabout way you are. That's what's referred to as a one-way hash. Okay, so you're not cracking that or decoding it. What your system does when you crack this is, what it's actually doing is it's taking each word in the list and putting it into the same type of hash and then comparing it to the hash that you saved with the hidden password. If the two hashes match, then guess what? It knows, hey, this is the word that they're using. So very simply and basically, that's pretty much how it works. So now you may understand a little bit more why you need that word list and how that goes. So, and that's also why it uses quite a bit of CPU when you're doing a hash cracking, when you're trying to decipher that. But since you need word list, now granted you can go around. These are this is a combination of some created lists and some that I've grabbed on the web over the years, and some of them are still out there because they're good password lists and they get passed around. So you can go and collect additional password lists. But you can also create your own, and it's very beneficial to be able to do so because you can customize your word list to suit your needs. So I'm going to demonstrate to you how to do that. In your Parrot security system, you already have pre-installed a program called Crunch. Okay, and Crunch is exactly there. There are a few programs to do this with, but we're going to go over Crunch today. This is a very simple one to use, so we're going to kind of go over it a little bit. Now, to know more about that, I suggest you look at the manual pages. Now, how you'll do that is you type and make sure you spell it correctly, Crunch. That's telling it, I want to see the manual for Crunch. And we hit enter, and looky there, we have our manual. So then using the arrow keys, we'll go through. And you see it tells you what it does. Crunch generates word list from a character set. And this gives you the basic syntax, okay? And so you're going to do minimum and maximum length after the crunch command, and then the char set that you wish to use, a character set, and whatever options you intend to add to it, okay? And this goes into great depth. You have quite a few options, and I'm not going to spend time to go through each and every option. I debated that, but I want to encourage you to actually learn how to use this tool, not just memorize the command that I give you tonight. I want you to actually look through the manual, test it out with different options, learn how to do this, actually learn the tool itself. When I was a child in school, I remember I absolutely hated math. I still to this day hate math. My teachers in college and professors never understood that in college at all, because they were like, well, how can you aspire to be a developer and you're so good at this, but yet you hate math? And the reason being is because it makes sense to me in development. It has a purpose, and it just kind of works in my head. But when you put a bunch of calculus and crap like that in front of me, my brain just goes, nope, don't want to deal with it. So I hated it. But when I was a young child in school, that's when I first discovered how much I hated math. We had to go over times tables. And there is a reason for this story, you'll see. And because I hated times tables so bad, no matter how hard I tried to learn them, it's like I had a mental block. And I realized soon after that what I was doing is I was memorizing each timetable for just long enough to take my test, but then I'd totally forget. So I wasn't actually learning them. It wasn't until I had a very, very good teacher that just explained it to me in a way that made the light bulb go off one day and made me realize I was memorizing them. I just thought, I'm just stupid at math or something, I don't know, I just can't learn this. But it was because I didn't want to learn it. My brain was like turning off. So I had to learn to just accept it and see it for what it was. But if you're just memorizing, this is my whole point of my story, if you're just memorizing something here or there, you're not going to retain that. You're not learning it. You're not going to be able to apply that knowledge to other situations that you may need to. And that's the whole point. I want you to be able to apply this. I want you to learn this. And they would give you examples in the manual. So it will behoove you to look through the manual. It's not super long. It's not bad. And you can go through and see. Now, they do give you quite a bit of examples there, but that's awesome. Okay, now we're going to get right in. I'm just going to show you a very simple one, okay? And there's a reason I'm going to show you a very simple one. The one big warning I want to give you about this is that you can create a word list with just a few taps of your keyboard that will completely engulf your hard drive. It's not hard to accidentally create a word list if you're not paying attention. That's going to be a couple of terabytes. And if you got a 500 gig hard drive, because many of you use an older computer to put Linux on, which is Nothing wrong with that. They run great with older computers, as long as it's not too old. But it's really easy to eat up your hard drive. In fact, ideally, you will eventually want to have a couple of additional external hard drives to use. One for nothing but rainbow lists, and we'll go over that later, and one for your basic word list that you create. Okay, that way you're not taking up your hard drive space, and you can just take your external hard drive along with you, or you copy over your favorite word list as you need them, and then go from there. So we want to use Crunch, just the most basic method to explain the syntax to you is, remember, you put your minimum and maximum length. So let's say, I'm going to keep this very simple, I want a minimum of 1 character, and I want a maximum of 4. And I want it to have an output to this file, and we'll call it we'll use camel text, which is a combination of upper and lowercase letters. It has humps in it, that's why they call it a camel text. My test word list. Okay, and we'll make it a text file. We could make it an LST, or we could leave it with nothing at all, and that would be just fine too. Okay, so now when I hit enter, it first is showing me right here, see what the outcome is going to be. It's going to create a 2 megabyte file, and you see that went through really quick. Now normally it will give you a few lines. It'll say, 5% completed and 10% and so forth until it's done. But I wanted to show you how quickly you can create a large list. It's very simple to use, very, very simple to use. So if we go back here, now you see here's our list. So we'll just open that, and that's exactly what it did. It went through the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, blah, 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 minimum 1, then it goes to 2, A, B, A, C, A, D, and it's just creating our combinations. And then it starts with B, and then goes to C, and so forth, until we get down to, let me grab the scroll bar here, you get to 4 letters, and you see it's doing it in order still. It keeps that sequence going. So you have all those possible combinations until it finally gets to ZZZZ. And you see on the outer edge here, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. So it's just doing that in sequential order to create all your different variations and combinations of passwords. So that's how you create your own, or one of the ways, one of the many ways you can create your own password list quickly and easily. Now, let's suppose we wanted something, and you can filter that any way you want, like I said, according to your options. And I'll go back here just for a second to show you exactly what I'm talking about. And the reason how you can specialize that list using the options, like for example, if you put the trigger in, -B, if you put that in, then it explains to you that it specifies the size of an output file, only works at blah, 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 tells you how it works and everything. So you can tell it how many bytes or megabytes is in there. C number specifies the number of lines to write. So you can control what it spits out. It's not just random. Limits the number of duplicate characters. Specifies when Crunch should stop early. You can set it to a file path so that outputs the word list file in a particular folder. It doesn't have to be in the folder you're in. Inverts the output. So instead of AAA, AAB, AAC, etc., you get AAA, BAA, CAA. You see the difference there? It inverts it. So, and you may have a use for that. So there's all kinds of different ways to, and the character set, how to change the character set, and to use specialized characters, and you can stop and resume creating your words, because if you're creating a large, say you do have your external 4 terabyte or whatever hard drive, and you decide, okay, it's okay if this thing's going to be a terabyte big, because it's a very specialized password list I'm making, and it has all kinds of special characters, so it's going to be big, I expect that. Well, that could literally take a day or two. depending upon your processor, CPU speed, and connection to your external hard drive. So if you need to stop it and then resume it, you can do that, which is a very nice option to have. You can also have it spit that list out into a compressed file. So it comes out into an archive, which is great. And these are the different types of archival systems it uses, gzip, bzip, you name it. So, and it tells you which ones does what, so you can decide which is best for your purpose. One's a little slower but has better compression, and etc. And then of course your samples. So you can control how the list is going to come out in a very specific way if you'd like to. Now, here's something else I want to show you. If, for example, you want to create a very specialized or targeted list. So let's say that we are targeting Charlie Brown. And we know Charlie Brown has a Facebook account. And suppose he's at facebook.com/Charlie Brown. That's where his profile is, right? We don't stop and think about this, but as humans, we tend to create passwords from words and topics and items that are very familiar to us. Because the biggest worry in everybody's mind is, oh my goodness, I don't want to forget my password. You need to get away from that if you do that yourself. But we're going to exploit that in our target, because that's what we do, right? We create exploits and utilize exploits. So as ethical hackers, that's what we're going to do. That's our job. So we're going to aim a word list at Charlie Brown's website, and I'm going to use I'll use my own website for this. Why not? And this program is called Cool, spelled C-E-W-L. Okay, and let's see if Cool has a help. I don't think so. I think it's just a man page. Yeah, it's just wanting man. Cool. There we go. So we'll look through the manual. It's the best place to look anyway. Always more information than what help will give you. And it shows you that what Cool does is it creates a word list. It is also a word list generator. But Cool does this by targeting a particular web address. So if I want to know what kind of words and things that Charlie Brown uses on his website, then wouldn't it be good if I could create a word list from many of his posts on his Facebook page? A lot of people like to make the big mistake of, well, let me see, what's a good password that nobody think about, but I won't forget. Oh, I know, my child's birth date. But then you go and talk about your child's birthday when it comes up on Facebook. So without realizing it and thinking nobody will notice, you just gave me your password on Facebook and everybody else in the world that has access to your profile. So that's how you utilize this. So what I would do, and like I said, I'm going to use my website for an example, because I hopefully there's not a Charlie Brown on Facebook, and we're not going to violate someone else's privacy. But I would simply do this. I'm going to go to aim it at magiccat.com, and I'm going to hit enter. Okay, and it couldn't hit it, so we're going to whoa, no wonder. We need to spell it correctly. That does help. Alright, let's try it again. So now it's hitting Magic Cat, and we've hit that. Now, let me show you something else. The options, okay? Now, let's go down. You can change the depth in which it does that, and you can change the output of the word lists. There's all kinds of options in here. You know, once again, look through your man file. Now, when I hit that, normally it would jump it back or print it out to the terminal. but I happen to have many different protections on my website that prevent it from, the firewall's kicking it from doing that. It can't spider crawl it, which is a good thing. I have to be super careful, because if you do tutorials on pen testing, you have other hackers out there that aren't so nice that want to test you or think it's funny if they can go and hack your site. And no website's completely unhackable, but it is silly and useless. And anyone watching this, even if you want to do that, you're not doing anything big. I'm fully prepared for that. My site's backed up very, very regularly, and I use a very modular system, so it literally takes me 5 minutes to put the entire site right back up where it was. So, it wouldn't even faze me. So, but please don't. It's a pain in the butt. Okay, so anyway, if we pick another site, I don't know. Let's think of something like this. And, you know what? Let's put it in we are in a word list. Okay, cool. So we're going to say cool, and now do we put the options after? I believe we do. Let me arrow up so I can go back to that command. There we go. Option first. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right. So if we do this, and we're going to say write to my cool list dot text, and we're going to go to I don't know, shoes.com. I don't even know if this site exists, so we'll see what happens. And apparently something did there. So it here we go, made my cool list. So there's nothing at that site, but you get the idea. If you have a legitimate site, I'm trying not to pick a site so we don't end up doing anything illegal here, but if you have your own site to test on, or buddy's site that he'll let you test on, you can see it will create your word list from words in there. Let's see, there we go. And it's going to grab various words, and you can set the depth. Okay, now what that means is, do you want it just to crawl the first page, or do you want it to follow links and links of links? So you control what depth you want it to go to. Let's go find us a interesting. You know what? We could go with this. Let's try that. Oh, wrong desktop. There we go. All right, so let's do that. I was looking at the Purism's Linux phone, so that's a good one, and I don't think they'll mind us just grabbing a few words there. Let's see, cool list dot text, and we're gonna copy and paste in there. And to copy and paste in the terminal, you're going to hit Shift Control V. Okay, not Shift V. You have to throw that control in there also in terminal. Shift Control V, and that will paste what we just copied into there. And then if I hit enter, and we're going to let it go through, and I'll probably end up stopping it because that's a rather wordy site or page there, and I didn't set a depth. So if there are any links, it's going to go following it, because I believe default it will just keep going if we don't set particular guidelines. So I'll just let that go for a moment. Oh, pardon me, grab a drink there. Okay, so now I'm going to hit my Control C here to stop it. Alright, so you get the idea. Here's the cool list. Okay, we're going to open the cool list, and look at there. Now see, I didn't set any type of triggers or guides in it at all, so it's picking up all kinds of stuff. The and that, for, with, Librem, Purism. But you see the usefulness of this. Okay, so I could have created a nice custom word list specifically for targeting old Charlie Brown just by doing that with his Facebook page. So that's a handy thing to have. Okay, So now you have a very simple way to create your word list using, what was it again? Crunch. Okay, that's right. Already pre-installed. Cool. Already pre-installed. CEWL. Okay, and you're going to find those in Parrot if you go into the Parrot menu with all your specialized tools. If you don't need, as you see, I just pull them right up from the terminal. You don't have to go and click on anything. This is not Windows. A lot of these things that are pre-installed are in your path, so you'll be able to open them anyway. But we choose password attacks, and this is considered an offline attack. Okay, so here's Cool, and there's Crunch, and you see we have a bunch of other goodies here, like we can even create rainbow tables. Rainbow tables are expensive to buy. If you don't have the drive space and don't want to go through the time because they're extremely large but very thorough, you can always create your own rainbow tables. But if you don't want to buy the external drive with them already pre-built on there, or buy the list and download them because they're quite large and they can be expensive, but you can create your own rainbow tables. And like I said, we'll go over that later on too. We will cover rainbow tables eventually. So you can create your word list with Crunch. You also know how to make a very specialized password list or word list with Cool. So how do you choose which word list? You know, after a while, you get quite a few lists built up, and you would want to target the best list possible for each time that you're trying to crack that file. So you want to speed that time up, because you can let this run and it go through the cracking sequence, and it could take days, literally, for it to run. You could just sit there on your computer running for days doing that. That's why a lot of times you grab the cap file or the hash file, salted or unsalted, and then you take it home to your little server that you have set up that can do nothing but sit there and work for you all day long. And rather than do that on your hacking box. And I say server because you're going to, a server typically, and I'm talking about a real server, not a computer that you go, okay, this is going to be my server. You can do that, but an actual server is built to be a server. You'll have multiple processors, usually dual, quad core, something like that. You'll have bunches of RAM, good cache, and nice beefy system. That's the kind of system you want to be running your cracks on, because it can definitely take a long time to do, particularly depending upon the size of your word list. But choosing the word list can make that equally as daunting, because keeping in mind how long it can take, you don't want to have to go through, okay, I'll do this word list, and I'll do that one. No, that's very inefficient. But guess what? We have a way to make this more efficient, and I'm going to show you that now too. So let me clear a screen here, and what I'm going to show you now is, this is an app. You're going to type stats gen. Whoop. I hit the right keys. Here we go. And then we're going to choose a word list that we go, all right, so I'm targeting Charlie Brown, maybe the Rock You text. Maybe that'd be a good word list for Charlie Brown. Let me see. I want to know. I need to know the specs of that word list. But do you realize how long it would take me to figure out, well, how many uppercase are in that file, how many lowercase, how many special character words, how many? It would take forever to look through that, especially some of these, because some of these are really big. Like, let's look at this one. This is this is not too bad. I have some that are much larger, but this is 4.8 gigs. It's basically a almost 5 gigabyte text file full of passwords. Okay, so that would take forever to go through. I'm going to use a smaller one just so you see, because this can take a little bit of time itself. In fact, let me make sure I get. Yeah, let's see. No, that's fairly big. We'll go with this one. 139.9 megabytes. See, Rock You text is not too bad. It's kind of like a starter word list that's given to you on your system pre-installed. So we're going to do stats gen. rock, and I can hit tab to autocomplete, then hit enter. And then we wait and see it says analyzing passwords in rock uText. So we just let it do its little analyzation here while it's analyzing. And it will take a few minutes because it's literally doing several computations for you. How nice, huh? Because even though this takes a little bit of time, it would take 10 times longer for you to manually do this. The whole thing is about making things not just more automated, so it's easier to deal with and less typing, but just more efficient and quicker for you. After all, if you can't automate your own things, then what kind of hacker are you, right? You need to learn that. Yeah, learn to automate your things. I strongly encourage you to learn Bash script. I'm writing Bash files all the time to automate simple little things that I just go, you know what? Instead of opening this here and typing this here and then typing that there and that there, let me just put all those commands into one Bash file so I can just run that Bash file and it'll do it for me. So it's good to know Bash. Python's good to know too, and Perl. And you'll use all of them in like system administration type jobbies. So, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and close that, and let's expand our terminal here. And I'm just going to kind of wheel up. All right, so first statistic that we get is it gives it to us by length. So it tells you approximately 20% of this list are 8 of them, the 8-letter words, and then the 10-letter words, and the 9-letter, and the 7-letter, and it shows you what percentage of them, and then how many words in that list are actually 8-letter passwords. Okay, here's some 8, and it just, there are none that are 29 characters long, and let's see, 4 character long, there are none that are 4 character. So it looks like they start at 5 character, it looks like. So only 1% of the list are 5 characters long. This is how many. So 259,169 passwords in here are 5 characters long. So I can look at these statistics, and then we can go down here. Then we have the character sets, how many of them are lower alpha numeric, or lower alpha, how many are numeric, etc., the complexity, the types, simple mask or advanced masks. So this is a nice, friendly little way to help you choose what password list you would like to use instead of just guessing. Because we don't want to be guessing. We're not a professional. We're just guessing. We need to have straight out clarified ways to know our next point of action. All right, so you've learned how to make your word list with Crunch, how to make a targeted word list with Cool, and we've learned how to check out which are the statistics on word lists so we can help us pick which word list we want to use for a specific target and attack. So I hope that helps you out this evening on word list. Thanks very much for joining us, and as always, feel free to leave contacts or comments, suggestions, complaints, whatever you got, below the video. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, thank you for joining the YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe so it will alert you anytime I post a new tutorial. But I also encourage you to visit my website, and you can find additional goodies there. We'll have extra little tips and posts and some downloads and things like that you won't find on the YouTube channel. And if you're watching it from my website, kudos. Also this week, I do want to let you know, I did add in, I now have an option on my site to collect cryptocurrency. So let me explain to you, it's not mandatory. Nothing is ever installed to your browser or your computer. It runs completely from my website. You can see the controls on the bottom left side of the main page. And basically how it works is if you're tracking around and moving around on my website and watching my tutorials, if you would like to donate to help me pay for all this stuff that I'm doing for completely free, and sharing all this knowledge that I've spent years building up, I would greatly appreciate it. So in order to donate, all you have to do is nothing. Just go to my website and enjoy it and read through it, watch the tutorials, and it will be tracking and mining cryptocurrency for me to make a little bit out of it. It's not a fortune, it's teeny tiny little bits, but every little bit helps. You are in full control. As I said, it doesn't install anything to your computer or your browser. You can control if it uses, it borrows 100% of your CPU, or 80 or 60 or 20 or whatever, or you can just tell it to stop altogether and it won't do any mining whatsoever. So if you don't want to donate, that's fine too, no hard feelings. But I did want to let you know about it. There's nothing illicit or illegal going on, nothing underhanded. I'm not doing this behind your back. It's just a way for you to help with donations without paying a single penny out of your pocket. So I would really appreciate it if you don't mind letting that run when you do visit the site and watch the tutorials. But I did want to make you aware of it. So thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and we'll see you next time.